Let me give a short introduction of the Yash Gurudkar. He's the friend of mine. He's currently working in the Perennial Systems as a full stack developer. And other things he will tell by himself.
Yeah, okay. So, thank you, Pushkar. So, I'm Yash Garudkar. I'm working at Pernell Systems right now in Pune. I'm remotely working right now, as of now, and full stack technologies like React and Node. So, I'll just get started. So, we are going to learn today how to build React apps. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible, very simple language and simple terms. I don't want to use any difficult word or something like that. I just want everyone to understand what I'm trying to convey, the messages to learn this. So let's go ahead with it. Okay. Okay. So am I audible first of all? You guys can also ping in the chat if you have any questions. So can you just say that yes, so that I know I'm audible to you guys.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. I'm sharing my screen now. Okay. Can you see the screen now?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So what is React? So React is a JavaScript library for building fast interactive user interfaces for mobile and web applications. So what is a JavaScript library first of all? So JavaScript library is a package of modules or many. There is a bundle of files that have functions that help us allow build faster user interfaces. So by that we mean building applications for web and mobile applications. So what happens is we use React to build websites, and we use components to build smaller components. So there are many things that underlying React. I'll also address them later in the session. It is open source. It is built by Facebook to manage its views. So many of you guys have might have experienced like some components in Facebook. So how Facebook works is it has components. So if you see a picture and there is some caption with it, that is a component. And every time a new post is made by a user, a component is rendered. In MVC architecture, React forms the view. That is the view, and that is like looks and the feel of the application, the front end part. So it has nothing to do with the back end. Everything is on the client side. It runs on clients. Okay. So why use React? So easy creation and of dynamic web applications. It is easy to understand. You can build it very fast. The speed of learning is very fast. You can start building your applications off the hook. So reusable components. So as I just said, reusable components. So if you just guys take a look at the Google Meet right now, there are smaller rectangles with a circle and their picture in it, right? So that is a single component. So what happens is that component is not coded every time. One component is created and it is reused for everyone that has joined the team, that has joined the call. So that's reusable components. Then unidirectional data flow. So for this, I'd like to say, uh, you guys know there is an image on social media running around that there is a beaker at the top and the small beaker is at the bottom, and there is a tree formation. So what happens is, uh, just as an analogy, imagine if I pour water on the top of that beaker, and the water will flow to the nodes. So considering every other beaker a node, so data will flow downwards. It will not go upwards. So that is unidirectional data flow. That's it. A small learning curve. As I said, you can learn very fast and start building the application. Build native applications. So what this means is React being a library, as I just said a few minutes ago. So being a library, you can use it for everything. I have built React applications for literally Chrome extensions that we use. I have built Chrome extension with the React websites, mobile applications. There are some packages available out there that use React. So you can use your React code and build an application for TV or AR and VR also. Everything is available. So there are also question out there that you might be thinking, what is the difference between React library and an Angular framework? So what is the difference between a library and a framework? So library is a package, and framework has everything built inside it. So you don't have to go anywhere else. So the power of React is, being a library, you can use it anywhere, like this native application, I just say. So let's start with features of React. So guys, if you have any questions, just ping me, or you can just turn your mic on. Anything, guys? Okay. So yes. So JSX, that is JavaScript XML. So you can see this code, right? So this is a React component. I'll say a stateless component. We'll come back to it later. So you have to look at it and just see there is a div over here. This is an HTML tag, you might think, but it is not. So take a look at this class name. The N is capital. This is a camel case. So this is not HTML inside JavaScript. This is XML, JSX. That is JavaScript's own way of. It is created by React only for rendering its views. You can write a JavaScript XML, and this will be rendered as div, and the class name in the HTML. If this is rendered, the class name will be with an N that is in lowercase. Okay. Okay. So this is the virtual DOM. So this is by far one of the most important concepts in the React. The real DOM is what we see in the HTML, right? This is the main document. It is heavy and it cannot be updated every time the data is changed, right? And this is virtual DOM. This is something that React has in itself. So it is a virtual replica of the real DOM, that is this. So virtual DOM, what happens is, it is connected to the web. It is connected to the real DOM, and how it will work. Let's just see that now. Okay. So this is your virtual DOM. This is your real DOM. So these are the two nodes that data was changed at, right? The orange nodes, the data was just changed over here. So what happens is, these are the update nodes. There will be a patch issued, and in the real DOM, only those nodes will be updated. These two. These are light blue color, if you can see on the screen. So these are the two only updated, because those are the only two that received data in the virtual DOM. So what happened is, React did not have to build all these nodes, all the full website, you can say, for example. It did not render the full website. It will only change the data inside this node and re-render that node. Is there any question related to this, guys? Okay, good. Okay, so performance. So React uses virtual DOM that makes the web apps fast, as I just said. Virtual DOM helps in. Okay, yeah. Okay, Sohail. So what is DOM? So DOM is a document object model. So what happens is, it is a like a document, the main document that is rendered on their HTML page. So if there is a structure in that page, right? So that is your DOM. So to understand DOM, you have to, like, it is really easy to understand, but DOM is something that you just render on the page. It is there is a real DOM and there is a virtual DOM. Okay, is that understood, Sohail? Hello. Okay. Moving on. So complex UI is broken into components, allowing multiple users to work on each component simultaneously. So, for example, imagine Facebook, right? Once again, so there is Facebook, and there are many things happening on Facebook right now. There are your games, there are your pages, there is notification messages, the advertisers are there, and the main post section is there, and the header is there. So imagine if only one team works on this, one team of like the 10 developers, one works on only that part. The company will go crazy and they will not be able to work, right? So what helps in the React is, the component is divided. So there will be a team that will be handling a specific section like the ads section. There will be another team handling the only the header section. There will be another team handling the posts and the main timeline section. So this was a complex UI that was divided into components and assigned to teams to work on simultaneously. Everyone works on it in parallel, so the product is built faster. So it is yeah, just a meme. So it is fast to build, not faster than this guy. Okay, so extensions. React goes beyond simple UI and has many extensions for complete application architecture support. So what is application architecture is? It has many extensions. That means like we know React Native, you might know, as I just said, VR, TVA applications. These are extensions of React. React is just library, and there are many extensions created derived from it. So server side rendering. What is server side rendering? Okay, so server side rendering is what happens is the HTML is rendered, the React HTML is rendered at the server, and the only that is sent to the client side. That is server side rendering is really important because it helps in SEO as the data is rendered pre-rendered and not rendered after the mounting of the component is done and after the website is loaded. It is already there because it was rendered on the server side. Is there any questions regarding to these 2 points? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mobile apps development. So in mobile apps development, so I'll just show you guys how it works. So React Native, it is a whole different session in the, for React Native. So yeah, so what you are looking at right now is a React Native is a home page. So you can use React to build native apps for Android using React and iOS also, of course. So there are many React Native applications. You guys have seen them. Okay, let me go back to present. Like there is an app called Facebook, as you use. Facebook is used for for React Native. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so after that there is the Recoil and Redux for state management. Redux is an independent open source library that has nothing to do with Facebook or not created by people working at Facebook either. And there is Recoil that was recently launched by Facebook itself. So what is state management? We'll come back to that later. Just know that it is used to manage the data. That's it. Okay. So any questions on this slide? Like okay, basic functionality of can you elaborate on that? Redux. Okay, okay, good. Okay, I'll start on that. Okay, so Redux is to manage state. Okay, so let's get to state right now. So there is a state in React. Okay, there has to be a place where all the data is held. Right, we are building dynamic applications. In static, you just hard code it. But in dynamic applications, what happens is you pull data from a server, you hold that data, and you render that data on your React application. So what happens is the data comes from an API, you store it in the state, and that state just sends the data to the component. Is that understood? So let's.
Yeah, cool.
So what happens is uh, in React, there are many components. If you work on a big architecture or a big website or a big project, what happens is there are many components, and handling state for these components becomes very difficult. Or if you try to do that, you will end up making the app a little slower. So what they did is they built a state management library like Redux and Recoil. Official React is there is a state management in React itself, but it makes it even easier to handle state for the developers. So what happens is, for example, in the Redux, there are two things. There are actions, and there are dispatchers, and there is a initial or there is a state. So what happens is, I will create an action that, for example, let's take a login function. I will put my email ID, I will put in my password, and I put click on the login button. So as soon as I click that login button, there is a action dispatched with it. As soon as it is dispatched, the data is sent to the server via Redux, and the data, my account credentials like my name and all the data that is needed, like the tokenization, my token and all those things are stored on my client side now. So if I don't have to log in every time, right, for every single action that I do. So as soon as I log in, that data is pulled and it is stored in the Redux state, or if we use the recoil, in the recoil state. So there is, for example, yeah, there are many components and there are many states in that components for big projects. So, but if you use state, if you use Redux for state management, what happens is all the data is in one place and all the components take data from that single state only. So they don't have to manage a state of their own. For data, they can rely on a single place, that is Redux or a recoil state. Okay, is that understood? Any questions, guys, about the Redux or recoil or anything?
Understood. Yes.
Yeah. So component states, state props, and lifecycle methods. I will give a brief about it, and then we will start with building the application. So state and component. So this is a stateful component. So let's take a look at this. Class home. This is your class name, extends react.component. When we use react.component, we get the state management and the lifecycle methods that will come. I'll come to that later. So let's take a look at this now. So in the component, there is a state as we are looking at it right now, and the name is Yash Garudkar, right? And in the render, this is my view in the return. So in h1 tag, hello guys, I am, in curly braces, there is this dot state dot name. So this means is, hello guys, I am Yash Garudkar. That is what will be rendered on the view. So state is what holds your data. So when I'm building a bigger application, what I will do is use a lifecycle method called component did mount, and in that function, that lifecycle function, I will call an API, pull that data from the API, and set a new state and update that state, and the view will be updated as well. Is there any question regarding stateful components that we are looking at right now? Okay. Okay, guys, just ask questions. It is fine. I'll answer your questions, and don't take it like really seriously. We are trying to just learn. Okay, there are no silly questions. Okay, there we have a question. Okay, is render a function? Yes, Sohel. Render is a function inside the mount part of the lifecycle methods. So as soon as the component is mounted, the render function runs. In the render functions, there is a view, there is a return, right? So this h1 is what will be returned and rendered on the website or the app or whatever you are trying to build with React. Okay. Okay. Is that understood? Go ahead. Okay. Okay. So moving on. So let's take a look at stateless components and props. So we took a look at state, right? So this is state and this is my name, right? So moving on to components, stateless component and props. So what we call this in React is a representational component or a stateless component. So this only returns a tag that is div, hello guys, I am, and my name. So what will happen is in props, I will send a prop named that is name over here, and that name will hold a value, right? So we will take a look at this in the application we are going to build sooner. So there is nothing really complex to be understood. You can send all types of data in props. This is JSX, so it is not strongly typed. If you want to send a function, you can send a function that can be dispatched. You can send numbers, just everything, of course. Right? Any questions regarding the component, the stateless component and props? Okay, okay. Life cycle methods. Okay, so there are many life cycle methods. I have listed only a few over here. I'm not going to explain each and every one of them, but I'm going to help you understand this better, how life cycle methods work. So there is a class component in React, right? I will go back. So this is my class home extends react.component. As soon as this class is mounted, the render function is returned. It is a that is mount. Okay, so going ahead. Okay, so the render function is then run. That returns the JSX. That is a view for the HTML page that you are using. So this is a part of the mount lifecycle method. And there is a static get derived state from props method. This is a method this is a static method used in lifecycle methods to get compare props and get state from the props method from the data. Okay, then there is component did mount, component did update. So component did mount is a function where we do our all fetching of data. So if there is an API, so for example, if you might have seen a to-do app, like we are going to build it sooner. So what happens is the data of let's say titles and description, and there is a array of titles and description. So that data will be fetched in the did mount lifecycle method. So what happens is, as soon as the component is mounted, the fetch API is called, and in this we will call the API. We will get the data. We will set the state. Okay, so as we saw the state earlier over here, we will set state inside the component did mount lifecycle method, and the state I will be given to the render function, and the view will be rendered accordingly. So your application can build like as you said, dynamic application. The API is called, data is pulled, the state is set and render, and the view is rendered. Similarly, component did update is something that will be called when the component is updated. Get snapshot before update is getting a snapshot of your current data and props. And should component update is something that returns a boolean value that says if the component should update or not, right? So you can uh, give some conditions to render that page, like update that page, not render that page, update that page, update that page. Okay, so yeah, so that's it. So are there any questions that you'd like to ask? Okay, okay. So okay, yeah, class based or functional based in this session. Okay, yes. So Aniket, okay, I'll answer both your questions. So class based and functional based uh, functions. So what happens is, in class based, Aniket, so class is where you get access to all these life cycle methods. Most of the times, not every time, but most of the times, we use class methods, a class based component to manage state, props, and views. So really complex views can be managed using class components. We use the life cycle method as I just explained. So there is I can't explain exactly when and where it will be used, but there is a usage of class component and there is a usage of functional component. If you want to just call a basic function, if you want to use a really basic function and send props to it, and you don't have to do any life cycle things like fetching the data, fetching an API or something complex like that. You just want to render a view, then you will use a functional component, and you can also write functions in that, and like basic stuff. There is something like pulling data. You can do all this stuff in functional also. Then you can use React Hooks API that was recently added to React. Hooks is something a little complicated. We'll just keep it really simple right now, so you guys can understand what React really does. Uh, what happens is in class we use lifecycle methods, right, as I explained, and in hooks there is a use state library, so you don't have to create a state every time. Using hook you can just use the react dot use state. So let me just show you guys how it works. Okay, so as a new addition in React, it is really new. So as you can see, there is this count, right? So this is a button. On click function, there is it is given a set count, and the value is given count plus one. So count is something that is. Let's just start from the top bottom. I'm sorry, I just went to the button, right? So function example, React and use state. This is a React hook method. We will use give a use state, and what basically this is doing is it gives this zero value. The use state takes this zero value and assigns it to set count, and sorry, to count. So the if count is rendered over here, this initially its value will be zero, and set count is a function that can be sent a value and called. So whatever value you give to set count, it will be set on the count over here. So if I click on a button once over here, you click this button zero times will turn into one time or two times or three times. So this is React hooks. Okay. So Niket, did you get it? Yeah, class-based more complex. Yes, yes, Aniket. Class-based is more complex and more than the functional based. Yeah. So, is it understood? What your is that? Do you consider the question answer, Aniket? Okay, okay. So, Tanmay Joshi. So each and every time it is necessary to call render method. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Aniket. So Tanmay Joshi. So each and every time it is necessary to call render method. No, not every time. When the component is mounted, it is updated, and when it is unmounted, the render is not called. It is just taken away. The data will be unmounted, right? So the render function will be called on the update and on mounting. So I just go in my terminal. I'll just put in npm start, and what will happen is npm run start. What will it will do is it will start the application, and as soon as the application is mounted, my server is up and running. The render function is called, the first render function that we have given. Okay, the next time the render function will be called. Okay, just a minute, guys. Okay, guys. So what I was saying is, okay then. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, is there any question, guys, regarding to React, Redux? What is the server side rendering? Anything? Okay. Okay. So then, I think we'll just get started on building the app. So, so there are a few prerequisites for this. We need Node.js installed on our local system. So I will just point you towards the Node.js website. Okay, so Node.js is a server side running. It gives a capability to run like our projects on a local server, and it creates a server. Basically, it gives JavaScript the capability to run servers. I'm going to just paste this in the chat. Okay, Tanmay. Okay, I'll tell you. So please tell me if the screen is still visible. a state management library for React. So recoil is it has atoms, right? So atom is something that holds state. You can really get into state management in recoil. If you just watch this video, you will get everything. But I'll try to keep it really simple. So in Redux, there is state management, and recoil is a way of state management that Facebook thinks is better for React, right? So Redux is something that is not connected with React in official ways or any ways possible. Recoil is something that was built by Facebook themselves to manage state in React. Okay, so did you understand, Tanmay? Okay, so I have uh, I have Node.js installed on my local machine, so I will just open command line. So to create a React app, you have to uh, give a global install of create React app. This is a npm library. I'll show you that also. Create new React app. Okay, so this is the first command that we're going to use. Npx create React app, my React app. Npx is something that comes with Node.js, with npm, and it is a bundle that helps you install, create a new app basically. So npx app. So what this will do now is it will go online, search for all the libraries that are needed to create a React app. It will pull all that data and it will create a React app on my local machine. So soon enough, you will see a folder here that is named Road to React. Okay. Okay. So by the time it is getting installed, if you have any questions, please ask, guys. Okay, difference between Vue Angular and React. So Vue.js is something that was recently created, not too recent, but it is new technology and it is really a fast growing technology, I can say. So in Vue.js, it is same, but it is a library only. You can say that, and it gives views to the client side. It is similar to React. It is people. There is a really big debate going on online that which is a better library to work, but there is nothing that is better or something is not cool or not good or not good to work with for project. Each project or each idea that you want to implement that has its own pros and cons. So a project, if you want to build something, it is something that you want to use really custom. So I think it should go with React. It is some if it is something that you just want to create a website and not go native, then you can use Angular. So there are applications for these libraries and frameworks. Okay, so the another thing that we addressed earlier was difference between React and Angular. So React is a library and Angular is a framework. So as I said, React has its own state management, right? But Angular also has its own state management, but React needs Redux to make it better. Angular does not need that because Angular has many things inbuilt that it is based on React. You can say that it is actually based on React. There was first Angular JS. It was really bad. No one is using it right now. It is always bashed online if you go and check, but React is always appreciated because of its component-based method and its unidirectional data flow. AngularJS was a very old technology built by Google. It had a two-way data flow, if I'm not wrong, and Angular After that, Angular was released, and Angular is also nice, but there is an application for each library or each framework or what we want to build. That's what I think. That's what my take is on it. But if you go online, there are literally debates going on, and people are wasting their time. So better way, just choose one thing and run with it. Okay. Anything else, guys? Okay. There is some issue with VM.
Hello.
Yes.
I have read somewhere but didn't understand it. So, can you give me brief on a React router?
Okay. React router. Yeah. Right. So okay. So when first React was released, it was built to create only single page applications. Okay. So SP is that we call it. Okay. So what happens in React router is we create routes. So let's take a React website only first. So this is reactjs.org. This is a website for use with React only. If I click on docs, the route is changed, as you can see, right? So in the React router, as we can assign these routes, there is a base route. My base route, the base route for React over here is reactjs.org. This is the base route. After that, multiple routes can be created, and as the names are given, like this is the docs one, docs getting started. As soon as it hits this endpoint, this URL, another component is mounted to the page, and that is rendered. Okay. So did you get it? Who asked the question? Saili,
Yes.
did you get it?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So if you want to dive into React Router DOM, their documentation is really good. You will. It is really easy to understand. What happens is you just have to give an install of. I'll just show you. Type it in the chat. You just have to give a npm I React Router DOM. You can check this on npm also. So with usage of this React Router DOM, you can create multiple pages for a website. If you want, for example, let's take a e-commerce website. If you want to build, so there is a home page for the e-commerce website. There is a login and sign up page. Then there is a cart page, and there is a shopping page. Then there are categories wise. So you can create all that stuff using React Router. Okay. Yeah, also one more thing. So in React, routing is not available, right? As Saili asked the question, I'll like to address that also with uh, in uh, in light of Angular and Vue. What happens is in Angular there is routing inbuilt. In the Vue.js there is routing inbuilt, but in React it is not there. So that's why we have to use these new libraries to create routes. It will not only just that is the actually many people think it is a drawback, but that is actually that is a superpower. It not only makes our application really small after the build. What happens is a HTML and a JavaScript is thrown out when you run the build command, right? As soon as that build command is run, you take all your packages, and React takes all the functions that you have used from the packages, and it will create a HTML and a connected JavaScript file. Now you have to just run that HTML file, right? So as React is only the library you are working on, and you don't need React router DOM. So it will not exist in the package.json that you are using right now, and it will only use the data that is needed, the function that is needed. So the application size is really small, and your website loads pretty fast. The performance is really fast due to that. So and also there are many differences that I can say, like syntax in Angular, Vue, and React. They are all different. Many things like state management, as we discussed earlier, then lifecycle methods are there. Every library has its own way of doing these things. Okay. And the 2 points that are more even important to understand is a design pattern. I think the NPX is not working. Okay, yeah, it's working. Yeah, NPX is not. Okay, so design pattern is something that is the core of a library or a framework or a front end framework, I will say. So there is a design pattern that is followed, right? So there is a noise coming. Just a minute. Okay, so the design pattern is something that is followed by all of the front end frameworks. Every front end framework has their own terminology for this design pattern thing. Okay, Aniket, I will list down some resources for you. Definitely. Yeah. Okay, and in Angular, React, and Vue, if you take a look at that React DOM, that tree structure that we took a look at, and the unidirectional data flow, this is a part of the design pattern. All these things are similar in all three of them. They are all following the same, almost same pattern. Okay, and React is really well distributed. So what we mean by that is you can use React for multiple applications, right? As we discussed. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that is being built now. So if you use npx create react app, as you can see on the screen right now, it uses npm for most of the times. But in my case, I'm using Yarn. So Yarn is also a package management library. It is a bit faster than npm. It manages cache in a better way. These are a little difficult or a little complex things if you are just starting into it, but nothing to be worried about. But this is, if you once you get used to it, it's just a routine. So it has just resolved the packages. It is fetching the packages now. Okay. Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. Pushkar has sent us the link to Yarn versus NPM. What are the differences between them? They are just package management libraries. Most of the time, they don't even they are not much of a greater issue to understand. So you can use any one of them. Just remember not to mix them. So if you have created a project in Yarn, and multiple friends of yours are working on that project. Okay, so what happens is if you are working on a Yarn project, and the React project that is was created using Yarn over here. So what will happen is Yarn will use its own log file, that is yarn.log file, and npm has its package log.json, if I'm not wrong. So if you mix these both, there will be confusion for the package management library for which versioning to handle and all that stuff, because they have their own way of managing the packages. Okay, so never mix these two together, or the versions of your project libraries that you are using. I will show you the package.json and all the things that are installed into it, so you can get a better idea about that. Okay? Okay, so guys, is there any other question? Aniket, did you get to the functional based components? Okay, so I will also try to list out if there is something available. Okay, okay, good question, Pushkar. So what happens in React is we use React uh, with JavaScript. Okay, then you can use it with TypeScript also. So if you want to be a perfect front end developer, you want to create only, you want to work only in front end part. If you want if you're looking at a job as only a front end developer, not a full stack developer, so the best way to start will be learning HTML and HTML tags, when to use which tags, then CSS, then JavaScript, and then React. So you think you might think it is a longer learning curve. So what will happen is, if you just start working with React, there will be times that you will be wondering what is happening with the CSS. CSS is a really important thing. If you want to be a front end developer, CSS is the only most important thing that will matter. Okay, you can learn React and all that stuff, but CSS is something that you should know. Even the almost the basic part, you should be clear about it. So before starting with React, then we can come to JavaScript. So JavaScript is used in React, right? We use JavaScript code to write React application. So you need to use JavaScript because JavaScript has these inbuilt functions, right? The array methods are there, the object methods are also, objects are there, object destructuring, then getting calling functions, how the function is working, then arrow based functions, regular functions, when and what is to be used. If you understand JavaScript before using React, what will happen is you will know what Java, how the function is working. This also helps in handling errors when you are building the React application. So there are like, if there is a, for an example, an ABC library or an XYZ library, that is inside that library you just send data. For example, there is this library I will share with you guys, D3JS. Okay, so data driven documents. So this is a JavaScript library that is used to show plot graphs and data in a visual manner. Okay, so okay, so this is their website. It is a bit heavy, I guess. Okay, no, it is working fine. Okay, so this carousel, if you are looking at right now, this wide thing, if you are looking at this hexagon shapes over here, these are built with D3JS itself. Okay, so even a better view we can see. JS. Okay, so this is D3-graph-gallery. So in D3JS, you can build all these graphs. Okay, let's just take a look at this histogram distribution type graph. Okay, so this is just an image right now, but you can use this to create D3JS to create this view. So when you, for an example, if I am working with React and I am directly starting with React and not knowing the basics of JavaScript, what will happen is somewhere along the road you might run into errors. Okay, and React will show you the error on your page, and you might not be able to derive to the conclusion where this error is coming from. So for some, maybe there is this, you are sending an array of data, like this is an array of data starting from the over here, the orange line, and going down to over here, right? This over here, all these are array data. You are sending some values inside that array. They are getting mapped. The map is an JavaScript map is a JavaScript function used to return some value. Okay, so this is mapped data. So what might happen is you send an array that is not in the right structure that can be accepted in that library, and the error will be thrown that map is not a function or something like that, because the data was not sent in the correct manner. If you know what map is, because if you are directly starting with React, you might not know what map is there. If I just go and today, if I don't know what React is, if I don't know JavaScript is, I just get started with React, and I just go and use these libraries and send data, the errors will be thrown, and I might not be able to come to conclusion. I might have to go online and search. So there is more help available online. You can do that also, but better way of saving your time and not spending more of it in the future working on errors just start with JavaScript. If you know JavaScript well, there will be few errors you will run into. You will understand how the functions are working in React, and you will know what your code is actually doing. You need to visualize all these things inside your head so you can build a front end library. Okay, the front end views, front end websites. If you are a back end engineer, you also have to think that data, right? But when you are working with a front end, there are many things that come into picture. So first of all, if you want to start learning React, the best way will be start with HTML, then HTML, CSS together. After that, you can go to JavaScript, and finally you can come to React. And React has a really small learning curve. It won't take much time to learn also. Okay. First time it takes to learn. One is JS. Okay. So it is not about the time and what regime you're following. What is your schedule of learning React? Okay. So there are many courses available online. There is on Udemy, Coursera. So you should follow the right creators. There are many videos on YouTube also. And when you start first learning, try to understand what the function is doing, like what a render function is that I just explained. Render gets updated on mount and update, right? So that is what it is you doing, right? First of all, understand what the function is doing. Once you know that, the best code practices and things like that, that can fall into picture later on. You can learn that uh, in future. So maybe there might be syntax or managing, not a syntax, managing the way you have written your code or structuring your code. That is what comes into picture later. You can learn that later. Also, why HTML? Okay. So I think that answers your question, Sohel. How much time it takes to learn React, right? If you are a beginner in JS, if you are a beginner in JS and you have started with the right course, you how much time you will take is the how much time. The amount of time that you will need to learn React is the amount of time that you will spend with React building applications. Your proficiency in React will gradually keep on increasing as you keep learning, as you keep building applications. It is not like okay, I have built this project, now I know React everything and know it all. That is not going to happen. You have to keep constantly learning. That is the thing with technology. Everything gets updated. So you need to keep on learning, and you will eventually be a master of React. But you have to still keep learning. You cannot stay a master if you just stop learning, right? 2, 3 React assignments. How can I debug? Okay, Wasim, can you give me a better explanation, like how you want to debug the app? Okay, Wasim, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so can you,
Hello.
yeah. So can you elaborate on what you want to do with
Hello.
yeah, hello? Yeah, you are audible now.
Okay. So I have done 2, 3 React. Okay. So I have done assignments.
Your voice is breaking. Hello, Wasim? Okay, right. So the project is now ready. I think Wasim is there an issue, Wasim? I can't hear you. Okay, so Wasim, so for debugging your React application, what there are many types of bugs: logical bugs, networking bugs, and like user interface bugs. There are the front end, like what a view is not being rendered in the proper way. There are different types of bugs. So you can use uh, debugging, right? There is debugging, as you can see it over here, run and debug. You can create test files, right? So if you can see over here, app.test.js. This is a simple function that is testing if the render is working or not, and it will check learn react, right? This text learn react is being, so it will go to the screen dot. So okay, so let's start from the top. Testing library slash react. This is something that gets installed as soon as you create a react app. So this was the package.json that I was talking earlier about. So these are your dependencies. Dependencies are libraries or the libraries or the npm packages, in a better way we can say, the packages that are being used to run this application. Okay, so the testing library or jest testing library react user event. So these are used to test user events and DOM updates and react applications. This is what these libraries are installed, pre-installed, I can say. Okay, and readme.md is just a file that gives you some data how the project is built and how you can run it. Yarn.lock is a yarn file that locks. It is just something to look. So it is an auto-generated log file. It is just for yarn to manage the packages. Okay, so never merge npm and yarn together. Okay, it was it. Okay, so did you get the answer as I try to explain right now, the debugging part? Wasim? Okay. Okay, so this is a functional component, as Aniket was asking earlier. So I am going to change this functional component to a class-based component. I'll just stop my camera so that. Hello, hello, Pushkar, am I audible? Okay, so was my mic was closed, right? Okay, the server is started. It opened Mozilla Firefox by default, but I'm trying to show you with Chrome right now. So application has started to build right now. Starting development server, what the npm start did was it ran this script called start react script start. It will just get your application started. This is the index file. Let's just take a look at this project first of all. So you don't need to understand all this stuff. This is a report to web vitals. It is for understanding performance of your react application. So I'm going to just remove the stuff that we don't need in our application right now. So it is gone. So React from React is imported for to render this JSX, and React DOM is imported from React DOM, so that the DOM in the in the DOM there is a div called root. Okay, so let it just, I think it is rendered. So this is the React application. This is the bootstrap file. This is the bootstrap view we get first as soon as we start the application. Okay, so as we can see right now, there is this div. Okay, let me just zoom in. There is a div in our application with an ID of root. So if we go to this code, you can see React DOM dot render. Then in the first over here, let me just make it even easier to understand. So as I showed you guys earlier, a stateless component, right? So I'm going to create a stateless component so the syntax gets a bit easier to understand. Okay, so I'm using Vim right now, so it might be, there is some stuff going weird right now. It is because I'm using Vim, so I'll stop using Vim. You guys want to, if you guys, some of you are there that are trying to get into backend development or something with DevOps or something like that, Vim is something that you might want to learn. So just install it. I'm going to, yeah, put my application for this. So Vim is a not a library. It is a like VS Code only. It is a development platform where you can write your code in a specific manner. It is faster to get to. Okay, so as I have disabled it right now, I will enable it later on. So there are a few things I will be sharing in between. You know, you have to read between the lines. There are something that will come to me later on as I build the application. Just look towards it. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so first of all, remember to use a few basic things that with the VS Code, that will, it will not only help you understand, it will help you build a better looking code. Okay, so try to use ESLint. So as soon as there is a possible code error, it will just check with the error. It will tell you before it is it is there. So as you can see over here, this double check with the ESLint. I'm going to remove just this one angular bracket. And as you can see, it showed me an error before even saving the file. So ESLint is something you want to get first installed. Then there is Prettier. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and disturb the way this is looking right now. Okay, so this is React.stick mode is up here, and another one is not in alignment with it. The app has taken more tabs or more spaces from where it should start. As soon as I hit Alt Shift F together, everything falls into place, and this is why we need to use a Prettier. This is what Prettier does. It makes the code look beautiful. This will really help you guys, because many times you don't know where the data is set, or some angular bracket is not there and your whole application is crashing. Prettier is something that will save you from that error. So in React DOM dot render, what is happening right now is, okay, so in React DOM dot render this app, we just took this code and we added it to the app, right? And we are now searching for this document dot get element by ID root, as I showed you over here, this root. So what this code React DOM dot render is doing is, it will go to the HTML, it will find a div, or it will just find an element that has a name root, and it will send our React app and render it over there. Is this understood, everyone? You guys can just post message in the chat also. Don't be worried about asking silly questions, as I said earlier. Okay, so moving on. Just give me just a second, please. I need to run my start again. So after this is my app dot. Okay. So first we were here in our app.js. Again, this strict mode that we are looking at right now. You don't even need to use that. I can remove that, but let's just keep it as it is. Everything is working fine. This app is coming from this import called app from dot slash app. That is this app.js where this view is rendered. Right. This view is rendered from that, from the app.js file. Let's go back to the source folder in the app. Now let's go to the app function, right? This app function over here. Okay. Yeah, I have reloaded the page now. So this is the earlier code. So development server has started. That was an earlier message. So there is a warning. Function are not valid as React child. So this may happen if you return a component instead of component or from render. So this is something that was a error thrown even before we made any changes in the app, the functional part. Okay, so I'm going to remove all this stuff. Now we are going to start building from the ground up. First of all, we will need React. Then we will need import dot slash app dot css. So you might have noticed that over here only dot slash app is working. We don't need to use the dot js part. It will automatically understand that the js file is being called. It will go and look for a js file that is named app. But in css part we need to include it because it will not automatically get that we are trying to look for app.css file. If I go just use this, it will just call this app. It will give suggesting me to call this app.js, and it cannot just call itself, right? So .css extension. Then we will need a React component. I'm going to start building this faster. Okay, so class app extends component. There is another way also of writing component. You can just remove it from here. You can add React dot component, and it will still work because it is being exported from React in a global scope and also with the React that we have already called over here. And we need to always export something from a file, export default app, so that will return something inside this return function. Okay, sorry, not directly the return function. We need to now create a render function, that is our mounting method. As soon as the app is connected to the DOM, it will go towards it. The render function will be executed and the view inside it will be rendered on the page. Let me create a div and add hello. As soon as I save this, go back and save this. What's now let's see this error. Nothing is being completed. Okay. This is something. Yeah. Value object for constructor is null. Okay, so there might be some issue in this way, the way it is working. Just revert all the changes and make change over here. There is some issue with create react app, I think, because it has been showing warnings from the way that it has started. In render, I will now add this function. Render. Stuck over this. So now in the case of Prathamesh, I will get back to you custom. There is something with server. Okay, so okay, so no, the render function is always needed, Prathamesh. So when we create a class component, a render function is something that we always need to make sure that something is returned from that class. We cannot add the return function directly. If I remove this render, so this is just return floating around here, right? So that is not allowed in React. You need to render something. You need to return a render function that inside that you need to call a render function that returns say JSX. Let's just hope this works now. I'm not doing this. I think there is some issue with this React app creation. Okay, so back and running. Okay, so the server is now running. So this is our basic boilerplate that we have received earlier. I'm going to remove everything from here and just return a hello world. Every start of everything. We don't need the React logo. We'll remove that. And we see a hello world being rendered. It is in center right now because there is a CSS class being run over here. So app.css dexalign is center. To remove that, actually remove everything from CSS. You don't need it. Let's just name this to me. Going back, This is our hello world. Okay. So first of all, we need to design a form, right? So let's work on a form. Remove this. I'll add a div now. So this is my main, right? After that, I will create a class name of give it a class name of form. Inside here will be my form to add a task. After that, I'll create another div where my view will be rendered from where the tasks, all the tasks that I add in this form and click on the save button, they will be rendered inside this div. So let's create this as a tasks. Okay. Yeah. Give it a Control Alt Shift F to be aligned now. So this is a form to add task. Then there are my tasks. So now let's just start with putting the form part. I'm going to add a form now. Or directly, let's just start with a link. Okay, let's just start with a form. So as I said earlier, this is not HTML, right? This is JSX, JavaScript XML. So this is the, if you can see, this is the N, the capital, there is a capital N. I'm going to keep it like this so there is a better view on the screens. Okay, so the form font. So creating a form, there will be a inside it. Inside that div, I will create, give it a name called form group, maybe class name form group. Inside it, I will create a label. So first of all, I am not trying to follow any specific guidelines. I just want to show you guys how easy to build it is. React application. It is not a difficult technology as it is portrayed, or somewhere you might have heard to it. There is a learning curve, or it takes time to build these things, or even get motivated. So sometimes people don't get motivated easily because they think the application is it is a difficult to learn thing, right? So this is my Google. Okay, I'm going to give it a name now. Okay. So label will be title. After that, there will be my input tag that is in JavaScript, right? So let me just create a new div for my input tag. I will handle this styling part in the CSS file. So in React, you can sometimes there are you don't need to use another tag. So if you don't want to use another tag for in the specific places, like in this input part, I don't need another closing tag over here. I can just use a slash and closing angular bracket, and input tag will be automatically created. Again, this is really uh, based on what we need to build right now. Okay, so label is something I want to put my data inside. So I need a closing tag. There is no data I need to put inside my input. So I am not using a closing tag. I will close it inside the first one. So let's take a name first. Name will be title, and similarly over here I need to use HTML for name. Then I need to give this a class name form input. So this is now created. After that, I need the name is given, the class name is given. Only thing is that is remaining is value and on change. We will add that in a second. Okay. After that, we need to create a new form group again. So I'll just copy this code and add it down here. For now, there is a title, and now I will add a description. There is a title of the task, and there is a description of the task. Yes. short form. I'll use ESCM. Again, the form input is something I want the input to be looking similar. If I design in CSS later on, I will try to put it in, but it is not a promise because it might take longer to build. Just a minute, guys. Okay, we're getting back. So now the form is built. I'll zoom out a little bit. Okay, I hope you guys are able to see this now. The form is there. Oh, I need to give this a class name. I'll give this a class name of maybe form, just a form, main form, or maybe I'll use a to do form. Done. So that the form is now ready. I need to just create a final thing, that is a div. And inside that div, I will do say not even a div is also not needed. A button. So this button is, we will use this for submitting. Like submit. Button will be save. This is save. Done. After this, there are this tasks. First of all, I will save this file and let's go back and see how this is looking. Okay, so we have our form now. Okay, so title, there is title, there is a description. I'm adding in just dummy stuff. I did this and I'll click save and nothing will happen. It will just add to the route over here, the form, basic default behavior of HTML forms. Okay, so now let's start with the tasks part, right? Okay, so I'm going to create a new div again. Inside div, I think uh, I think we'll do the tasks part later. Now let's build a state. Now we need a state for our application, right? So state is something that is going to hold our data, right? So these are my to-dos. This will be an array. After that, there will be a title that will be needed. Then there will be a description. So this is our state that is always going to be needed to build our application. Okay, nothing else than this will be needed. So as we can see, the state has to-dos, then there is title, then there is a description. Now let's go to the input element and give this a value, because it needs a value to save data and to display data and take data. The value will be needed. Okay, this dot state dot. So why are we using this? Because it is something that will give us a scope for that. We need to access state. We cannot directly access it because it is not inside this scope. If we use this, then state can be accessed, and state dot. Now we have our title, our description, and our to do. So for title, I'll give it as a title. Let's go to the another input, that is description. Now let's do the same for a value of the description part. This dot state dot description. So now this has been given a value. After that, we need to create a function, that is handle change. Now this will, I will create this as a uh, arrow function, right? Then we will take an event over here. Event is something that will be sent to this function when we, every time we strike a key on our keyboard, when the input part is focused. So I will give this an on change, and there will be this angular brackets, and I need to call, I need to send an event, right? You cannot, if you want to just call a regular function, if the event does not exist, and I just want to call a function when it is changed, this dot handle change, this will do the same. Okay, but But in our case, we need to send an event, right? So it will be better to create a function over here. You cannot just do this, remember, always. So this is what is, if I save the file right now, it is not showing any problems over here. But as soon as the React is the view is rendered, the handle change will be executed as soon as it is rendered, because we have called it, right? Now over, if we remove the brace, the brackets, the circular brackets or rounded brackets, we call it, then it will not, it will be rendered, it will be called, and if we don't do that, it will not be called. So in this time we do want to use the angular bracket because we need to pass some parameter. Now in this case, the parameter is event. So event, and we will take this event from here. Okay, so this is a dynamically created event. So this is, it is on change, this event will be taken and it will be sent to the handle change. So what we need from this event is the name, right? Event name. So how we will access the same, I'll show you here. Okay, so event. So first of all, I'm going to take this dot set state. Okay, so this is another function, or I'll say a way of setting state. So thus state, if I have defined some description hello over here, this can now be not state, this cannot be set directly. I cannot just this dot state dot description equals to something. It cannot be done, right? The lint just throws error right away. Do not mutate state directly, use set state. You cannot mutate the state, you cannot make changes in the state directly. You need to use the set state function that is given by React itself. So I will call this and I'll send an object inside it, enter. And now here I am going to send a also a type value. Okay, so type value is something that will tell us if the data is the title or it is description. Okay, so I'm going to put type over here. Just a minute, guys. Okay, so what I have done right now is I have removed the type. We don't need a type right now. I'm going to use another way of calling this. Okay, so in event there are many things that can be accessed. So first of all, what I need is this uh, sorry, square or rectangle, or this is what you call the event dot target dot name. Okay, so what this will do is the target over here. Okay, so in event over here we are sending the target and the name. So the name over here is title. So this will be called and set over here. So remember, this title and this title in your state, these names need to match to use the handle change in this manner that I'm using right now. So what we have used this brackets for is it will take put the value inside it. Okay, you cannot use a dot we accessed function. Then you need to do it like you need to destructure that object if you want to use name directly. So we can take the name equal to event dot target dot name. Now you don't need to use this brackets directly. I can just event dot target dot well. You don't need to use the bracket. Sorry for that confusion. So now it is the same as earlier. So but to use a short form, I'm going to just remove the name part and directly use the event.target.name part. Okay. So similarly, we are using our name over here. If you don't use name, and you can use IDs also, so it will work anyways. Okay, but make sure there is a consistency with the naming part, so we can handle this. So I have just given this name of DESC just to show the this inconsistency. If I use this DESC, the on change function won't work. So I need to revert it to description. Now this will work. Okay, so we have given this the set state, and after that I need to console.log state. Okay, so on change event is given. So let's just copy the same thing and put it down here. Yeah. So our form is almost ready now. But one thing we have not done is on submit function over here. We will do that soon. So I'll refresh this page now, and you will see there is a hello in the description, right? I change this. The handle change function is being called app.js colon 16th line. When I click on this, I will be taken over here, and it will show you the file that is being run, console.log state, right? So why was the hello already there in my description part? Of course, because I added this hello over here. I need to remove this. Done. So now that we can see the state part is working fine. This. So I can only see the THI because set state does not get executed immediately. It takes a little time to set the data, but actually the value is this over here, is state, and also the description is being changed. A title, this is our description, and to rows have an array size of 0. And when they save, this will be added to the array. So now let's implement the save button, because right now nothing is happening, right? Let's go back to the code. Yeah, so I think we are at a point now that if you guys have any questions, please ask. Are there any questions? Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so now we have implemented our form now. Let's get back to saving the data inside that form. I'll remove this console.log. We don't need it anymore. We have tested it as well. So handle submit will be our function. We will just give it a functional call. That I will do is this. I will create an object const to do, give it a object now. I need a title in this, right? The title will be valued this dot state dot title. That will be the value of title at that instance when the submit is being run. After that, I'll need a description. This dot state dot description. Now the to do is created. Now what we need to do is add this to do, push this on inside this array, right? So what I will do is this dot set state. But there might be a case if I will just show you guys now. So to do's colon bracket, or if I give this a value directly of to do, the type will change and it won't be. It will be a single. It will be disrupting the state because we are creating an array over here, and this is just an object. So I need to create an array and give this a value. So what will happen every time I add this to the state is console.log this dot state done. So let's now try this, and on the form tag I'll add a on submit this dot handle submit done. So we have given a reference of handle submit now. As soon as I will click add some data, I've added some data as soon as I like save. So you can see this, the form was updated, right? So what happened here is now the default method, what happened is in form was it updated the form data inside the URL. So we need to stop that first. Again, I will create this event, send an event to handle submit function. And first I will event dot event default. What will happen now is the default behavior of the form will be stopped. The URL won't be changed anymore. As I save this, you can see the console log was done, but array is showing 0 because, as I said, that is not sent, not set immediately, but this is being logged. That means our function is running. So let's go back to array and see there is a to do over there. The value is asdiv view profile. It works, right? So, but what is the issue right now is as soon as I save this again, the array value size is not increasing because we have given it a single value and it is not saving the earlier price values, right? So what we need to do is take a value from the state itself. So we will create a function inside set state, return an object from there. Let me just start it from 0 again. So what I will do over here is I'll create a function, and inside this function I'll give this a name of previous state. Over here I will take my return function, as I need to return something, right? Return an object that has a to-dos, same as what we have in state over here. Give this a colon, then spread out the previous state dot to-dos. Okay, so what are these three small dots, we can say, right? So these are spread operators. What it will do is it will not just send the previous state to-dos, or what will happen is there will be an array inside an array. We need to spread out the values of that array inside the new to-do array. So that this is a spread operator. It will take these to-do values. If there are 10 to-dos, it will spread it out in this array. If I remove these three dots, it will work. But the thing will be in the first position over here, there will be a new array every time. So we don't need to do that. And at the last, I will add my to-do that the object created over here. So I have created an object, but I think it is better to understand, right? Okay, so I will save this now. Go back to my browser, refresh the page. So now let's create a new like PSP session. Save. Now the array shows 0. I'll save it again. The array size is now 1. I'll save it again, and the array size is now 2. So every time the value is updated. Now let me change the value this time. Hello world. And I save this. The array size is now 3. That means 0, 1, 2, 3. And the last to do will be hello world. Yash is here. It is not here, but I need to save it again. So in the next time you can see this over here. Done. So the third task over here is title, hello world, and description Yash here. So there are two hello world and two Yash here. As the set state is not called immediately as we talked about earlier. So the array is now working. Let's remove this console log, run this again, and in the tasks now, a new div, I will call a render. I'll take curly braces first of all. So curly braces is something you need to render data. You cannot directly access this dot state in here, because if I use this dot state now, it will just render it. So it will just render it. But when I put a curly brace around it, it will not just it will render the state this time, the value inside the state. So it threw an error. No, it's okay. It will not render that. We need to console log that, right? So I'm going to create a this dot state dot to dos, as we need to map the to dos as we talked about earlier, dot map. So this is a array function in JavaScript, and inside that map function there will be an item every time. Item. This is something that holds our current title and description, and after that there is an index to give a key, because if there are multiple components, then we need to use key to give them a address them a value of key. So let me show you that first. Okay, so I need to give it a h1 tag. There will be my item dot title, and after that there will be a p tag that will give me an item dot description. So this is now throwing an error, and the reason for that is it is not returning it. You need to return it. And inside that I'll create another div. Inside that I'll return this JSX. Give it a alt shift F, and it is not structured. So over here div, I'm going to give it a class name of to, and I will give it a key, as you can see, key of index. Save, and as we go to the browser, we should now be able to see our values of to. Okay, so now I'm going to create a DSC session. The home is in React and with friend DSC friend and colleagues. Save, and it is rendered now. Now next I need to add hello world dash here, and set enter, and hello world dash is here. So the values after hitting save were not changed inside the title and description, right? That is because the values are not touched yet. As soon as we set our state, as soon as we handle a submit, we will not only return to dos, but we will return a title of null value and also a description that is zero value of the string, right? As soon as I save this, everything is gone. Again, I'll add something. How was the session, guys? Going great. So, and again, the values are now gone. Again, I'll do hello world. Save. Value is enter. I did not add description, so description is not there in that object. Let's reload again. So by far, I think the to-do app is now done. We are done with the coding part. So are there any questions you guys want to ask? Okay, guys, Prathamesh has just posted a form. Uh, do reply to the survey. Let us know how you feel and understood this session. Is there anything you guys need to understand about rendering this map function, the return, set state, handle, submit, anything? Okay, good. You guys don't have questions, so I think you guys have understood everything. Okay, good. So we are now done with the coding part. Let's do a little styling, as this is pretty ugly. I will never use this app if this was built. Yeah, sure can. This is a really ugly app. We need to give it a better look now. Let's now start working on that. So first of all, form group is there. Then this is my div. Okay. So class name form. First of all, first of all, in the main part, I will give it a margin of so of 2 rem. So it will. So that form is starting right away. Where the HTML is started. I don't want it to start over here. I need to get it inside. So I will give it a margin of 2 rem. It's inside now. Now let's get the form first. Form text align center. For that I need to display this flex, and I need to be align the items in center. Also the justification of the content horizontally needs to be center. And in align items, I'm aligning it with the vertical specs. Okay, just another center. The form has come into the center. Okay. Now let's see what's next, right? So we have created a form. We now need to address the to-do form, right? Is after form there comes the to-do form. So let's go to the to-do form. To-do form, I will give it a adding of 2 rem, or not 2 rem. I think okay. So I will take padding of 2 rem from top and bottom, and 1 rem from it left and right sides. So the padding is given now. We cannot see it, so for that what I'm going to do is give it a border of 2px, maybe only one. Let's try one first. Dashed maybe with a value of epsilon. So if there is a small outline, it is difficult to see. I'm going to change the color to a darker grayer color. Increase the border width to 2px. So now that is visible. I'm going to do a really basic styling, so it is just usable. After that, again give it a this. Let's try doing display of grid. It looks. Okay, display is grid now. So that items to enter. It is centered already, and as soon as I gave center, the save button came to its normal size that it should be. Then now I want some gap between these parts, like the input and the save button is touched, like connected to each other. It looks like that. You need to give a row gap. It will take the sorry, the row like this side and give it a gap of 1 rem. Okay, so it is spread out now. Title is not left and description is also left. This is a little better to look at now. Everything is little organized. Let's go back to the code and let's give our button a little style. I'm directly accessing the button because there is only a single button, so we can do that. And first of all, I'm going to remove the border, and I'm going to get a background color of something little light on my eyes. Uh, Green color button is changed. Let's give it a min width of 6 m and a height of 3 m. Button is done. Let's give it a nice color by border radius of, let's say, 10px, 50px. I'll go. I want it to be rounded, totally rounded, so that So I need to transform it and scale it by 1.1. As soon as I hover on it, it will come up. So it is directly coming upwards. So I don't want that. There's little little bad to look at. So I'm going to give it a transition of all to 0.2 seconds, I guess, and let's use ease and out. So it is better now. And I also need to change the color of the background as soon as I hover it. Copy the color, paste it here, and make it a little darker on hover. Going back. Okay. No, it does not look nice. Let's make it a little lighter. Okay, this is fine. So this part is done now. Let's go to the sorry the tasks part. Okay, so let's try giving a input field um, adding. We'll give it a 1 RAM. Shall try 0.3 RAM size. It's a little bit better. So 3 RAM on all sides. This is better. Okay, now let's get to the to-dos, I guess, right? So there is a tasks and there is a div. So I need to just do main. So let's just call it a container. Easier. And rename this to to-dos. There are to-dos and there is a to-do. So this is an item and this is an array. So I need to first address the tasks part, right? So let's go add some data first. There is a reference. I'm going to give this a dot to-dos display text line items to center and specify content to center. It will now run to the center. Now I need to give it a min width of maybe 20 RAM. Why did this come downwards, right? Okay, so I gave it a hit by mistake to min width. Let's get this back up. Let's move this to max width. Okay, so okay, cool. For that, I need to run back to give it a order PPX solid 0 0 0 0 paste. The border is there, but it is connected to the top. So we need to give it a padding. For the padding, we need to give it a let's take it first. Okay, the padding to the top and margin top of where I need it to look just apart from the form. So the to do is added and a margin bottom of 100. So the next to do after that will look closer, and this will look a single group, and this will look at another entity in the application. Now let's try that. So it just got render on the side. We need to get it in line, right? In a single column. To this X direction column. Yeah, that works. This is better to look at. So let's give the to do a that's not enough. Let's maybe just 25 rem and update the H1 tag to H4 tag. So the title is not over the hook, not a lot. Okay, this is a little better to look at. Okay, so this is rendered now. This looks a little better. So I want to give it a hover. So it comes a little upwards and there is a background shadow, box shadow. Okay, so px to px and now this is fine. Let's go and move this dot to and give it a hover and move our box shadow code over there and also change the border color to little darker shade. A7 A7. Okay, so this looks nicer now. So as you can see, it is just throwing the animation. It is not even using animation. It is just throwing the value. So it is not the pleasing to the eye. We need to make something that is good looking. We need to look at it time to time. So it should always look nicer to the public, to the users that are using the application. I'm going to use a piece over here. There it is. So that's it, I think, guys. Okay, so let me just give it a title over here. So we know what's happening inside our to-dos. Let's add something again. Okay, so that's it. It's built now. Our application is done. I'm going to add this to the repository first of all. I want you guys to take a look at the code so you guys can understand. Okay, guys. So, are there any questions that you would like to ask? So, Prathamesh, Pushkar,
Current,
Any question?
currently, I guess people are thinking, and you can share your handles in the chat. Drop your handles in the chat, so
Yeah, yeah.
others they will contact you if they need anything.
Yes, yes. Or Instagram or even Twitter. I I am not as much active on Twitter. So if anyone wants you have any queries or anything, you can connect with me on my LinkedIn and on my Instagram too. So let me just open my Instagram directly. This is my Instagram. Mm, This is my Twitter. Mm, This is my LinkedIn. So if you guys have any queries or anything you need, you can just ping me on LinkedIn and maybe on Instagram DM. I always try to keep an be there at least once a day. So if you have any queries, you can ask me there also. Um, Let me just push this code first. I'm going to push it directly to DSCSITRC. And okay, Pushpa, will that be fine? Or should I post it on mine and then clone it to fork it to DSC?
Yeah, it's fine if you directly post it on the organization. No issues.
Okay. 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 Let me just share my GitHub link so you guys can access that. Okay. So guys, this is the DSC GitHub repo. You can just download the zip over here and follow the instructions in the readme.md. First of all, you can just give a yarn installed, and after that, you can give a yarn start if you get an error because the node modules are not uploaded that are not added to the git that are because it exists in the git node. You don't need to push your node modules to the git. Let me just share you my GitHub repo, my GitHub profile. So you can take a look at the projects we have worked on earlier. So I guess I think that's it from my side. Pushpa, you want to add anything? Pushpa, Kamesh?
Currently, no, because if anybody has any question, the Yash already dropped his connect social handles, so you can ask him, or you can also ask on the ask us on DSC. Yeah, and
Yeah,
Yash, thank you for a great session, and we are hoping for more from you. Means another session or different topics.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Prathamesh, anything you would you like to add?
I think the Prathamesh, there is some internet connectivity issue with Prathamesh side.
Okay, it's okay. So I
Okay.
guess no one has query. Okay, it's fine. We will conclude then.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you, guys.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for a
Okay.
session.
Great session, Yash. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Yash.